Good morning, everybody. As it says on the screen, I'm Dan Corns. I'm the Commercial Director at St Richard's. I think it says in the brief I've been there for 19 years. So hopefully I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. I'm not sure my staff would always agree with me, but here we go. I've been told to remind everybody as well just that to patronise some of our people next door, there's a free smoothie. It was supposed to be mentioned, so I think they'd like to go along. Preferably not now, but if you sneak out, I know that's what you're up to. So, I think before I start this session, a shop of delights was an interesting one. I always think when I'm sat there where you are, it's what the hell's he going to talk about? And then at the end of it, you think that was nothing what we thought. Well, I hope you don't think that. I was trying to conjure up what they meant by a shop of delights based on the brief that I had. So I've tried to put some things together, and hopefully by the end of the session, you'll think that the presentation was fairly delightful. So, moving on. I've got a number of videos on here which we've recently commissioned for our shops to promote our shops through the organisation. So we will stop and look through those as we go on and perhaps sort of cover some of that area. So, Shop of Delights. I wondered what they were asking me for this, and you're probably thinking, what's that up on there? We're well known for the last 5 years to have opened up a large format store with a cafe. Which is turning, the cafe is not turning it over on its own, but the store is turning over just under 600,000 a year, and that's growing year on year. So I thought, delights. So me having a love for food, I thought, were they talking about what we serve within our shop, and that was being our good coffee quality and our cakes and various different things that we sell. And then I thought a little bit more about it and what do we think delights are. What we're trying to achieve in our organisation within our shops is outstanding quality of what we put into our shops, sustaining our standards to make sure that it's a delightful environment for people to come into, enabling creativity for our managers, and developing our workforce to be able to actually have their own input within our shops. And that was where I started to think how we're going to put this together. So just to give you an idea of what our shops look like, because part of the brief was, albeit the name is a shop of delights, was actually refurbishments and how our shops impress people to come in. And this particular shop, one of our aims was to try and keep people in our shops a lot longer, and we've done some research on this, and the average stay has gone up within our environment from around about 10 minutes to half an hour. So that's a massive difference, and you'll hopefully see why when I play the video. The previous slide was a video, and hopefully it will come on in a moment. We'll come back to that. This particular store that we're talking about is actually over 2 floors. It was an old, do you remember Lakelands, the kitchenware? I remember sort of looking at that shop about 8 years ago, and we had a fashion show there. They did a fundraising event for us, and I remember coming down a wonderful sweeping glass staircase and thinking I'd love to get my hands on this. Little did I know that 3 years later that we would have it and turn it into what we wanted. Are we there? Okay, so this is videos that we've just had done to try and promote our shops. Apologise about the music. There's about 15,000 books upstairs. I'm not sure if any of you have been there. I know 1 or 2 of you in the room have been there. So what we tried to do, this was a big sort of leap for us as an organisation from, I suppose, probably 10 years ago when I started looking at where we were going to go with our shops. Our average rent for our shops was around about £12,000 to £15,000 a year. To suddenly go to the board and ask them for £70,000 a year was a big leap. I'm glad to say 5 years on in June that it's actually been doing very well for us. And it's got an interesting mix within this shop. The cafe itself has been very clearly got a different customer base in there. It's very much our supporters of the organisation that wouldn't necessarily come into a charity shop. And what we do is we've monitored the people within the cafe, and they're very often buying, 50% of them are tending to buy books as well at the same time, which is really, really good for us. So that's where we wanted to go. Some brief things about delights and what we're trying to do. Delights to us was trying to get people to think, oh, this is a talking point. Just to talk you through what we did with this. Everybody thought I was mad when I came in with Chinese sort of lanterns. But the thing is, it became a talking point, and everybody was talking sometimes positively against it, about it, and then obviously sometimes negatively, which people do. But on the whole, it was experienced well. The tree in the middle was a Christmas tree that we put up in the middle. And we decorated that with teacups, vintage teacups that we have donated all the time, and to try and make it something that would actually encourage people to come in with their children, we put sweets in there for the kids to actually take that out of the tree. So it's very just little things that we did. And then what we tried to do is engage all our staff, and you'll see some nurses there in uniform, and they actually helped us decorate the shop. And they really sort of engaged in that and got an understanding of what we do within our shops. Many of you all know this stuff, and it's always difficult to engage, sort of teach you something that you probably already know. But our window displays are critical within our business. How do you judge a good window display? My view is, how many items do you sell out of it? A lot of people will do a window display and nothing sells. As far as I'm concerned, it is not a good window display. The fact that somebody's come in and done some amazing bits and pieces but basically put rubbish in the window tells it all. So that's one of the areas that we are really sort of concentrating on. What is our vision as an organisation? What we're trying to do is create a unique and different experience across all of our shops. I remember some time ago going to the National Retail Conference in London, which Tesco's were there and Marks and Spencer's and different people were there, and listening to what they were saying, because my belief is that we tend to follow where they've been and what they're doing, because that's the nature of how charity shops have developed. And it was interesting, I think at the time Marks and Spencer's guy was there, and they said what they're trying to do is individualise their stores across the UK so they don't all look the same. Because if you live in a town and then you go to visit, sometimes they'll say, well, actually, we've got a Marks and Spencer's at home, I don't need to go in there. So what we've tried to do is have some clear sort of vision of regards what our shops are going to look like, but then some unique things to make it a delight for that sort of area. To bring many varied products in, such as St. Swithin's, which is the one video that we had there earlier, so that there are lots of things for people to look around. But we also have very much specialist shops as well to bring people to that area. So we've got some very rural town shops, and actually what people will travel to, we've got there's a shop coming up in a minute with just bric-a-brac, and we did that about 9 years ago, but people travel a long way to get that, so we're pretty pleased with that. To keep the customers in our stores as long as possible, we've already sort of gone through that within a larger shop format, which we've been working on for some time. To offer them a delightful experience, enhancing the reputation of the hospice, we have we have 7,000 actual transactions within our shops on a weekly basis. That's times that up by 52. That's almost the population of Worcester where we are. We don't know how many people come through the door because we don't monitor that. And we're trying desperately to move that in a better way. To have young and vibrant volunteers, volunteer groups. This isn't, you could say, well, what about the traditional volunteer age group? Yes, we've got them and we want them, but actually the benefit to us is having the younger volunteers within our shops and what they bring to the organisation as a whole. And they can be delightful, that's the thing, but they can be very delightful. And they mix very well with our the older volunteers. To have outstanding customer service, wouldn't we all love that? We, as a hospice, are becoming much hotter on reporting to our commissioners and to our organisation what our customer service is like. And we've actually tried to move forward now. We've just actually brought in lodge services. I've just started getting the reports this week. Interesting. It's not that delightful. I was honest about knowing where I thought it was going to be, and I think when you engage these services, you've got to be understanding that actually you've got to act on them or don't engage them, because there's no point. Investing in the future. One of the things that we've done as an organisation, and I've been very lucky to have this, is that we are investing in our shops at the very beginning. We've recently taken on a shop that was another charity that closed because it wasn't making money. And we're doing phenomenal business from it because we invested at the very beginning instead of at the end when you leave that property. So just moving on. So these are some of our exciting interiors that we've put in. One of the things that we try to do is I go to the furniture show at the NEC, and I buy direct from furniture suppliers instead of some of the traditional shop fitting companies that are out there that we all use, and it's how different can we be. I get credit for a lot of inspiration within our organisation on what I've put in. I've stolen it. You know, most people, if they're honest, they do. I think I'm creative, but I will spend most of my time walking around the NEC taking photographs and things that I like. I've recently taken some pictures of flying books in a shop in Oxford for a display purposes, and those are the things that people walk past and stop and look at, and hopefully they will walk in. So we've got on the far side our department store in Malvern, and that's 3 years old, and that's turning over around about 6,000 a week at the moment. So that's a mixture of electrical, furniture, clothing, bric-a-brac, homewares, and it's a destination shop. One of the things I was concerned about there was opening on a Sunday because nobody else opens. It's averaging about £800 on a Sunday. So it was well worth doing, but I don't think it would have done that if it didn't look like and offer what it does. So that's the two pictures at the top. And then below that on the far right, that's a small market town that we're in, and then that's just full of bric-a-brac. And that's been there for some time now, and that does phenomenal business for us. It used to be a little furniture shop and completely inadequate for that. And then we opened up a bookshop, which obviously is growing for us. The book market for us is growing about 30 to 35% a year at the moment, which I was told 4 or 5 years ago by some of our volunteers, it won't grow. You're going to deplete the shops if you keep opening more shops. And then we've got a bridal department, and that's above one of our shops in Worcester itself, our longest shop. Does anybody recognise this star on there in the bookshop? Matthew Kelly? Yeah? Interesting character. One of our other areas is making the shops bigger to keep people in longer. You can do more with a larger shop. And on the first one that you can see there is our shop in Evesham, and then the next one is a Droitwich shop where we've just taken 2 shops on side by side and knocked through. And then we've actually, the last picture here, believe it or not, up until 2 years ago, that was somebody's front room. So we didn't evict them, but it was the same landlord, and it used to be originally the shop about 10 years ago, and we managed to move forward into that shop. And that particular is a town in Upton-upon-Severn. I don't know whether anybody know it. We survive with festivals there, so we really gear that shop up to have things that are festival-led. Larger format stores, again, where we are now. This is our Kidderminster store that we opened, and just trying to do things differently. It is massively a talking point. I go into these shops and I hear people talking about things, and I think it's obviously working for us. This is old hat in some respects now. We've got counters that are made out of books. Always interesting when people want to buy the one at the bottom. And what is interesting, sometimes when we've done it, there's an inappropriate title. So be careful if you go down that route. And again, the 1,200 books, that all lights up if we want it to. And it's just something that makes the shop a little bit different in our experience. And then you've got the nice little tables there for people to sit and read the books. I think we've got another video there. So this is a different format again for us that we've opened. This particular shop is now 10 years in the making. So this is an address agency that we opened. We wanted to do something different, and address agency isn't a new thing out there on the high street, but it was at the time when we opened it up for a charity shop. So we basically split the profit, 60-40 split. It used to be a 50-50 split. It wasn't working for us, so we split that, and that's really doing very well. I'm pleased to say they had a phone call from there the other day. Somebody sent a customer up to go and have a look at some jewellery. They spent £1,100 on jewellery. So that was a good volunteer that sent somebody up from another shop. This is another video. This was 3 years ago. You saw some pictures of this one. This is the one that we now open on a Sunday and nothing else. And believe it or not, there's two big furniture shops either side, and they're not opening. They're thinking of opening now because we're actually open. When I saw this video, I saw that plate, and I thought, oh, we don't sell those. But it's interesting when you have these things done, and then you look back and you think, really? Do they put that out? So I'm sure you're sat there thinking the same thing. Bless you, I am too. But you never know when these people are going to go in and do these videos for you. The big change for us at the moment is what we're doing is the organisation is recognising, and has always done, but I think we're enhancing the fact that our shops are on the high street. They play a massive part in the organisation, and what we've done is our PR department have moved away from traditionally being aligned to fundraising and events that go on there and what we're doing as an organisation, and they're heavily focusing more on the shops and what we do on the high street, and these have literally only just been produced for us to put on our website to promote. So what do we do and what can we do differently? And this is, I was going to try and get you to do something before this event happened, but and share information. I think that's a really good thing about these sort of events, is to share that. What we're looking to do to make things more attractive for customers to come in, and perhaps customers that wouldn't come into a charity shop. So we're looking at engaging with local crafts within the area, and trying to perhaps take the shop for one day a month where we actually have a craft stores in our shops. It would be our larger format stores, but to try and bring people in and engage with the public, because you know, I don't know how many of you have been in it as long as I have, but you know, I've heard all sorts of different things over the years. Things have changed, but you do get this, oh, not another charity shop, you know. I would say we're fairly lucky now. That's reducing because people see the style of our shops and what they're like. But I think we can't rest on that. I think we need to try and say we are doing more than what you realise. And so this is one of the areas that we're actually looking at, again, to bring people in. This is something, we haven't tried any of this yet. This is something, ideas that have come up. We've already had something today about most unusual item donated. We've had a few over the years. I think one of the things we had many, many years ago was a coconut we sold for £600. You think, what's that all about? But it was a Masonic carved coconut from a ship from 1450. So what we were thinking of doing, and I've no idea what the thing is on the left-hand side. A manager sent it in to me to say, what do you think it is? I'm not quite sure myself, but if I help, please. But one of the things we've thought about doing is actually trying to have an area in one of our shops where we have the unusual item donated. Guess what it is? and try to see whether that will entice people to come into the shop. It might work, it might not work, but I think it will create a talking point within that shop. Have you seen what they've had? I think sometimes we'll have to be careful what responses we get from some of the things that we get in. And then on the right-hand side, believe it or not, that's an 1890s presentation to a missionary that was donated, and it had all the information that came in with it. But any ideas what one is on the left? Never seen anything like it? No. Perhaps when I find out what it is, I'll let you know. The other thing that we're looking to do in some of our larger stores, believe it or not, this particular coat we had donated into us and hadn't sold it. It was in the window. It was online. We found it online. It was just under £6,500 new. We had it on in the window for ages of £400. We decided we'd put it on one of our shop staff and volunteers, and they've walked round with it on. You've got to be careful with the words, but I'm for sale, or it's for sale, and it's sold. So is that something slightly different that we're not doing, because things look very different when they're on somebody? So that's where we are. Another thing that we're looking at the moment is, we had this a while ago. We had a fashion show where we had a consultant come and pick a load of stock from our warehouse. So what we're going to look at trying to do is once a month is have a fashion consultancy come into the shop, hopefully as a volunteer, but because I think it'll promote a business. But given an opportunity to say, right, I've got £50 to spend on 2 outfits or whatever, and actually spend the day in the shop with customers and actually put something together that they probably wouldn't have done. I've seen some of the work that these people do, and I think I'm creative, and then you see what they do, credit to them. It's massive. It's a massive difference. This is another Deja Vu shop. Do you want to just press video again? This is our latest one, about 12 months ago. It's not having the same impact as the one in Malvern did, but it is growing. We're reviewing it at the moment, but it's another agency, and it's just, as I say, it's just not having the same impact that Malvern has, but it did take some time to grow in Malvern. But I think the videos really sort of are helping our customers understand that what we've got within our shops and what our shops look like. Delights was the name of this, and I was racking my brain of different things, and there are some delightful volunteers. I'm not going to say anything else about any others, but generally after 24 years I've been in the industry, I've met some characters, and I think it's already been mentioned about writing a book, but I think we can make more use of our volunteers and how they are with people, because a lot of people do come in. I know they say it, I don't know whether they do in your organisation, but a lot of customers will come in on a regular basis to speak to a volunteer and see a volunteer, and I think we're wrong if we lose that. I think we do need to move forward as organisations, and constantly do, and we have, but I think we always need to remember our roots. I think that is so important, and not forgetting that. I googled, what it's like. I was thinking, delights, what are they? So I was actually just googling in it. It started to make me think about, what does that mean, and how does that fit for us? And it does conjure up, are our shops great pleasure? Is there enjoyment? Is there joy in them? Is there, are they pleasant? Are they satisfaction? Do they give delight to people? Are they positive? Are they stimulating? So it was quite interesting. Are they wow? Do they give the wow factor? And I've certainly started to look at that since I started to put this together, and trying to create that within our shops. This one's a true delight. I'm going to let you listen to this. It was something that just came to me sort of last week when I was putting this together and thinking about what makes my job delightful. I know what makes it sometimes not, and that can sort of skew your thoughts on how you move forward. So I'd just like you to listen to our volunteer, Dorothy, and this is not a professional video, so I apologise, but it's real.
I am Dorothy Barnett, and I work at St Richard's here as often as I can. I love it, and I chose St Richard's because it's for a very good cause. And as I'm 99, who knows, I may be looking for help myself from St Richard's in lateral years. I love coming here. It's my every day. If I could do it, I would do it. But there are days when I cannot just make it. But my thoughts are with them daily.
That's it.
You can see why I put that forward. I've known Dorothy for a long time. Very often when I'm over there, she asks me to go and join her in the jacuzzi. I just hope I'm like that when I'm 99, but hopefully not asking people to join me in the jacuzzi. I might get locked up. But we do have lots of things that are delight, and that was the difficult thing about this, and I was trying to put things together that really perhaps inspired us and made us think differently. It certainly, putting this together, made me think about how I will move forward with thinking of what makes our shops delightful for the public and how it impacts on the organisation. And our volunteers, you know, are a delight on the whole. And when you see somebody like this, you can't not say that that's not delightful. And 99, can you imagine? You know, how many more years have we got to go to get to 99? Will we still be doing what she's doing? Thank you. That's everything I've got to say. Is there any...